Welcome to Read Your Comics. Today I'm going to be looking at Pitt #1 by Dale Keown. Pitt #1. This is part of my continuing series of looking at books, some of the top sellers of 1993. Pitt was the number 31 top seller of 1993. Now, I'm using, I think it's called Comicron, to judge this by. Here's the thing, though, that this is a January 1993 date, and generally speaking, unless Image did it different, most comics were like 2 months in advance of whatever this says. So this very well could have come out at the end of 1992, but I don't have an exact memory of how that fell at that time. I feel like he had just wrapped up doing his Hulk run sometime in 92, and I would think that this took a little while to get out, but maybe not. Maybe he jumped right into it. This is not the first appearance of Pitt. That is supposedly in Youngblood #4. However, when you look up when Youngblood #4 came out, it actually says February 1993. So I find that interesting that this says January 1993, Youngblood #4 says February 1993, yet Youngblood #4 is the first appearance. Probably just some wacky, the way Image did things at the time was just odd. So let's jump right in. Look at our creative team here. It's from Full Bleed Studios, so I guess he left Marvel and started his own studio. Pencils and inks, Dale Keown. Writer, Brian Houghton. Letterer, Chance Wolfe. Colorist, Joe Chiodo. Editor, Sasha Limlin. Why is there an editor on this? I don't know. But I guess maybe he just felt like he needed one. Color separator, Ollie Optics. And there's some pinups in the back by Sam Keith and Jim Somerville. I like how he has the dedication to Jack Kirby and Joe Sinnott. And then thank you to the Image guys for bringing him on. Now, it's my understanding when Image was launching, they wanted Dale Keown to come with them on the initial launch. Hulk was a pretty hot book while he was on it. Still kind of second tier to X-Men and the McFarlane Spider-Man, but Hulk for Dale Keown was probably the peak of Peter David as far as like sales go. And, story-wise, it was kind of a peak era too. But I think he was comfortable. He was getting a good paycheck from Marvel at the time, and he didn't want to jump ship right away. But then I think he saw how some of those #1 sold and was convinced to take the plunge. And interviews from around the time, he didn't really have a great idea for a character. He just kind of had a hulking kind of design that he had come up with. So he probably brought in a writer to kind of help him flesh out the idea. And, well, we'll just see how it goes. So to start out, we got some nice biker dudes here. Solid work. Also, this is a newsprint issue, and I'm not sure. I did not buy this newsprint, but I picked this copy up recently, or newsstand issue. I don't remember. I feel like this paper is thinner than the Image books at the time. Maybe they went a little cheaper on the newsstand. I feel like it had better, heavier stock paper though, back when I originally bought it. Fight or Flight. So we've got a pretty nice action sequence to start the whole thing out. Stereotypical biker guys rolling down the street, just kind of doing what they want to do. See big naked dude walking down the street. Now this guy's pretty big and hulking. I don't know why they thought it'd be funny to pick on him, but maybe since they think their numbers are greater, it'll be funny to just go ahead and take him down. Like, where's your spandex, pal? This is set in what was an Image universe at the time. So these guys would have known about like Youngblood and I guess Wildcats and Savage Dragon. Like, it was a loose universe starting out at the beginning. Get a first look at his face and the no-nose. He's the no-nose Hulk. with the big teeth. And, this was probably one I was most anticipating. After Spawn, I would say this is the book that I was anticipating the most out of Image. As soon as it was solicited and started seeing ads for, because of Dale Keown. And he's doing another Hulk character, a long-haired Hulk with sharp teeth. Kind of almost like a venomized version of Hulk in a way. But you didn't know anything about him. Takes on these bikers, takes them out pretty good. Nice double splash page here. He's just tearing through them left and right. This is a great page of him, like, just full on hulking out, picking up motorcycles, one in each hand, throwing guys around. Pretty good sound effects going on. You hear this shh, and then right in the gut, shotgun to the gut. This biker guy thinks, okay, nobody's withstanding a shotgun to the gut. They're laughing it off while he's hunched over for a second, but 'tis merely a flesh wound. And even through here, through the no-nose area, you can kind of see a little bit of a smile happening right there. And of course, it wouldn't be an Image era book unless we had a sideways page. 90s is known for the sideways spreads. And all this really is a blown up single page across one page. So it's like they draw one page and turn it into two pages. Cut to this little boy here. I'm trying to think. I read this the other day, and I'm trying to remember if they even say his name in here. He just calls him Lad. And it does reference Youngblood number 4 right there. So that was something happened like in a subway. I think it was just like a little 4-page preview. But it wasn't a preview from this book. It was like its own story. And it involved the grandpa here and the boy. Because he woke up from the nightmare. So it's like, is it just a dream, or is he just having his own nightmare and it's just its own... just a transition of him waking up from a nightmare. Not that he was necessarily dreaming about this. You could interpret that either way. All right, so now we get cops, 90s cops. This woman is named Bobby Harris, which I think has to be a nod to Bob Harris from Marvel. I don't know if it's meant to be insulting to make Bobby Harris a woman, or if Dale Keown liked Bob Harris, but that's a definite nod to that. Not something I would have picked up on when I read this back in 1993, though. But there is the other male cop that's kind of like, I don't want this new partner. I mean, so much is pretty cliche here. So here's the subway scene from Youngblood number 4. She's going to investigate it with this guy over here. You know, they've got a Harvey Bullock-esque police chief. Now we go back to Pitt, and he's got the biker's clothes on. I don't know how he squeezed into the pants. The jacket obviously is a little small. He's taken chains from the bikers and decked himself out in it. Not that he needs chains as a weapon. He's pretty menacing even without that. But he looks pretty metal, pretty cool. Now I guess he's communicating here with with these aliens. And this stuff reminds me of Byrne. I always think Keown has like a pretty strong Byrne influence. I've never read that he's said that before, but like I see it in faces a lot, and sometimes in designs like this. To me, this looks like something that Byrne would have created or done. So they're communicating with him, saying, telling him kind of what he's doing down there. And then you've got this other pit-like creature coming in, blowing up their little stronghold, saying he's coming after him. Back at the subway, they're checking out the scene. This cracks me up too. The swearing in this, and it happened, like right here on the very first page. So they do like the just secondary characters for swear words. I find that pretty funny because this is an independent book. It was not code approved, so I don't know why they did that. However, like I noted, this is a newsstand copy, and there's a good chance that maybe if they weren't doing that, maybe they wouldn't have been able to sell it on the newsstand. The newsstand was still a viable outlet for sales at that time, so maybe that's why they did it. But this one cracked me up too. This really throws a blank into my day. I'm having a hard time figuring out what she's saying right there. You fill in the blank. What word is she using? Got some energy sparkles here. Pretty interesting coloring right there too. You can tell it's coming from the blue of, I guess there wasn't any blue. This wording is blue. They're starting to walk away when they see this stuff happening. Here come the two new partners. He's kind of like hitting on her at the time, and she's rebuffing it. They hear a lot of stuff going on. Nice use of onomatopoeia, different lettering styles all through there. They come down, and you see people getting thrown like this, and she thinks her little pea shooters saying freeze is going to stop whatever's doing this. And that pretty much wraps up our issue. So this was a pretty intriguing first issue. I remember it as a kid, and Sam Keith pen-up is pretty awesome. And now Pitt will appear in an issue of the Max too. This one I don't like as much. I feel like it misses the mark of the Pitt character a good bit. I mean, it's drawn well, it's neat, but it doesn't look like the character we're seeing in the rest of this book. Whereas this, even though it's cartoonized and a little apish, I still look at that and say, "Oh, that's Pitt." It doesn't hurt that I'm a Sam Keith fan. It's hard for him to do any wrong in my book. This is a cool ad too. I wish I'd been in on this at the time, original art. And I remember seeing these ads and thinking like, "Oh, that's cool, original art." But I probably thought, "There's no way I can afford that." No internet back then, so you had to call to get a catalog of it. But I bet people could have gotten some of this art fairly cheap. I bet for just a few $100 a page, if not less. Whoever got in on that was smart. There's some Wizard ads, T2 ad, Mighty Magnor. That's a Malibu book, because remember, Image is published by Malibu, so we're getting ads for Malibu in here. I have vague memories of this book. Then you get this ad about DC superhero sweepstakes. And then almost like, I don't even remember this, there's kind of like a Bullpen's Bullet and Image style. Now, Valiant did this because Jim Shooter was just kind of following that mold, but so we can see what was coming out about this same time. We have Darker Image #1, Spawn #8, Wildstar #1, Brigade, Supreme 2, and a Savage Dragon trade paperback. I guess collecting the first 3 issues. So that's it for Pitt #1. I loved this when it first came out. I did not stick with Pitt for more than a couple of issues because of delays. I've heard stories that Dale Keown made like $2 million off of this issue, and he kind of rested on those laurels for a little bit. Number 2, as I recall, took at least 3 months to come out, and number 3 was maybe even another 6 months. I think the series ends up going, though, for about 20 issues. He eventually kind of gets it together and puts together a little run on the series. But this is one of the most delayed books after this first issue that it killed it. By the time it got in its rhythm, I was already off Image. So many of the books were either like being announced and never coming out, or number 1 would come out and it'd be months before you saw number 2, and I just quit on him. The Image guys burned me by the end of 1993. I was off of their stuff, and it wasn't because I didn't like their art anymore or necessarily hated their characters, but I mean, truth be told, the stories went nowhere, and I'd kind of moved over to Valiant, and Valiant maybe didn't have the flashiest art, but it had the better stories. So, I may end up trying to put the run of Pitt together and actually read it through, just because I do like Dale Keown. I still like Dale Keown so much. This Hulk run is still one of my favorite sections of the Peter David Hulk run, which is full of really good artists. But yeah, so Pitt number 1. Maybe we'll come back and look at Pitt number 2 soon. Until next time, read your comics.